Solar is never an expensive proposition for the poor. We don't believe that it's an expensive solution. Never believed for 17 years. That's people who come and say solar is expensive basically realize that they have not gone through the whole gamut of what it actually can do for the poor. If you look at the poor, as we go deeper into the economic strata of any society in the world, and especially in the developing world, as you go deeper and deeper, poor actually spend more of their percentage of income on fossil-based fuels like kerosene, candles, and which is actually more expensive. A very typical example I'll give you is as I mentioned to Swin last time also, in the last 1 year, quite a few of our clients, the average monthly income of many of these clients is between $30 to $35 a month. They have bought solar at commercial rates, paying interest of 14%, and they bought it. They bought, like for example, people who are earning $30 bought systems which are $120 to $150. You and me will think many times if we have to buy something that is 5 times our monthly salary. But when the poor can buy it, and why? If out of that $30 a month, people were spending $3.50 on candles and kerosene, and $0.50 to $1 on mobile charging, because they were all day laborers, they needed a mobile because some landlord might call them for labor work, so they needed. Per charge, they were spending 5 rupees per charge, so 8 rupees a month, 8 charges a month, that is 40 rupees, that's equivalent to nearly $1. So $3.50 for kerosene and candles, and $1 for mobile charging, it's $4.50. Say with interest, it's $5. $5 multiplied by 12 is $60. $60 multiplied by 5 is $300 in 5 years. $300 that you and me don't pay in 5 years for, forget lighting, but for kerosene lighting. A solar system which can actually provide 2 lights and a mobile charger with 5-year financing costs around $250. Now tell me what is expensive. Is solar expensive? No. Again, a street vendor, for example, these are households. Now talk about a street vendor who does income generation. Street vendor does not get subsidized kerosene because subsidized kerosene goes to the poor households for daily and they get their ration. She buys half a liter of kerosene for 4 hours of work every day. And she pays for half a liter of kerosene, that is 15 rupees. 15 multiplied by 30 days is 450 rupees a month. 450 rupees a month is equivalent to $10 for 1 light for 4 hours. Now $10 multiplied by 12 is $120 a year, into 5 is $600 in 5 years. She spends on kerosene for 4 hours of lighting, $600. She actually needs a lighting that, if through solar, it comes to $120 in 5 years. She's actually spending 5 times of solar, forget anything else, solar to actually do her living. The catch is, she pays 15 rupees a day, solar works out to be 6 rupees a day at 14% rate of interest if financed. Now she actually would save 9 rupees on a daily basis if she's provided solar. The key is not technology, the key is, can we create a financing mechanism that she can pay on a daily basis? Today what is that we have too much of focus on technology. Technology is not the problem. The issue is, how do we create appropriate financing mechanisms? Today, a lot of time what we have happened is we have not looked at the needs of the poor properly. The street vendor needs financing on a daily basis. That she go and ask her today 10 rupees, she'll give you 10 rupees. Go and ask her tomorrow, I need 20 rupees, she'll not give you 20. She doesn't have 20 rupees. She can only pay 10 rupees. The best financial lesson I keep saying I've learned is from a street vendor who said 300 rupees a month is expensive, but 10 rupees a day is fine. It's a question of how do you go and collect 10 rupees on a daily basis. She cannot pay 300 rupees. The same way, a paddy farmer needs financing on a 5-year basis, but he can pay money on a yearly basis in January after his harvest is done. A peanut farmer twice a year, a sugarcane farmer twice a year, a school teacher on a monthly basis. So we need to create different financial products on top of technology to actually create a supply chain, or it's not the affordability of technology, it's the affordability of creating finance. Everybody is not on a monthly cash flow that we actually create. So a lot of the financing products assumes that everybody earns a salary on a monthly basis. I think that's what we've been able to create over the last 17 years. 70% of our work is not on technology. Though we are a technology company which provides solar at the grassroots level, 70% of the time which goes for us is basically on financial innovation. How do we create appropriate financial products and force the local financial institutions to create appropriate mechanisms so that the poor can afford solar technology? For example, let's talk about the slums. I'll tell you the slums. We have slum area. We have quite a few slums in many of these areas. A lady came and said, "Can I have a solar system?" And we asked her, and she said, "Just help me get a bank account so that I can take a loan, and help me get a loan from the bank so I can have a solar system." I asked her, my colleagues asked her, "What do you do for a living?" She said, "I do begging." She begs in the streets. She said that I have enough money to pay for solar, so my kids don't have to beg. She did not ask for subsidy. If a beggar can actually go for solar, then anybody in the world can actually go for solar. So we talk about solar being expensive. She was a beggar. I've gone and seen her begging on the streets. She's 60-year-old. She said, "My 2 kids and my 2 grandkids don't have to go through the same issues that I have to go through. I need solar today so that they can actually read under better conditions. What I save from kerosene and candles, I can actually take to the bank." She talked about mathematics. She talked about livelihoods. She talked about better quality of life. And she's a beggar. And we all around the world, whether you talk about Delhi, Washington, we all about philosophy about solar being expensive, or we can't do it. We can't. Solar or any other renewable energy technologies, whether it's pico-hydro, biogas, biomass, all are wonderful catalysts to remove poverty, which actually can be implemented. So the challenge for us is, we go to the local bank and say, "Please help her open a bank account, give her a loan." The bank manager says, "Harishan, what condition can I give her a loan? She has no credit. She's a beggar. How do I give a loan?" Then we challenge that, showing that we're going to get 100 of these from the slum areas. What's your risk appetite? What is the risk are you able to take on these 100 clients? First he said 40%. I want 40% guarantee. Okay, 40%, we put up 40% of money for doing this 100 houses first phase. So people started regularly paying, so the credit history of the poor actually went up. The second round of 100 clients came in. We said, use our 40% again to give to that means our guarantee became 20%. We again went back in other 6 months. Now the guarantee has now become 10%. With the same amount of money, we were able to unlock local capital to finance this. So when we went and asked the beggar, after 6 months, "Are you happy with the light?" She says, "Yes, very much. But more than that, now I am financially inclusive. I am a person in the formal Indian records.